We have a very exciting guest on our show tonight. His name is Adam Moskow. And Adam is a certified management consultant and a certified role-based assessment consultant. So we're going to find out what that means. He helps businesses. Welcome, Adam,
Hi,
Thank
Adam.
to the
How
show.
are you?
Very good.
Great having you on
Good.
the show. So what kind of services does your firm called Entrepreneurial Consulting actually offer?
So entrepreneurial consulting offers 3 services. We do business planning, recruiting, and operations consulting. We work with companies that are small to medium size. On the business planning side, they might need a plan written so they can grow their business over the next 3 years, or strategic planning services. On the recruiting side, we help them hire strong talent. And on the operations side, we do operations improvements, helping grow bottom lines.
Okay.
Right now, when you talk to people out there in the street, people that run companies or people that work at companies, they say things are really ugly and there's nothing good going on. Give us some good news. Do you see any companies that are actually growing and prospering?
Absolutely, I do.
Right.
You know, I get to teach a class down at Wharton at the Small Business Center, and it's on venture initiation. And there are a lot of businesses starting in Philadelphia and the Delaware Valley. Young entrepreneurs, seasoned veterans who are leaving companies, people who have retired, who want to start businesses. They're writing plans, they're growing, and the right companies with the right team are getting funded still. Not as easy, but they're getting funded and succeeding.
Do you see a lot of technology companies or a lot of plans for technology companies?
I do. Probably about a third of our work, or half, is with technology companies. A lot of software companies, an exciting one in Ballackinwood that is for the financial service industry.
Okay.
It's a mapping tool. Others that are in the insurance business.
Mm-hmm.
So one's in the phone business. Technology and software, I still think, are easier to fund and easier to grow, but that's definitely a key point of ours.
Okay. And what's one of the most unusual businesses that you've helped plan?
There's a company, it's called VoiceStar, and it's voice over internet. So companies could come in and put a unique phone number on an ad they were running, and the results would get trafficked through their website of VoiceStar, and the company would be able to see how many people called and what the results were.
Mm-hmm.
And they also then offered a service that lets people do pay per call. So someone runs an ad on the internet, and someone responds by calling the company instead of clicking.
Mm-hmm.
And they were acquired, and we helped them raise about $300,000 through Ben Franklin Technology Partners. And a year later, they sold for $28 million. So
Wow.
Wonderful.
great success story.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, we're all 3 Wharton graduates, and we learned a lot about business plans and the right and wrong things to do. Take us through, for our viewers and listeners, how you'd help someone create a business plan and what they might do about cash burn and milestones, just a little bit of an
Sure.
overview.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think it's really critical. So many people go to start a business or to run their existing business, and they don't have a plan. They start out and they're just running. They have a lot of things to get done, and instead of stepping back and saying, you know what, we really need to plan this out right, they just get started. So the important things to put into a plan are the different pieces of the business. So the company, the team, the product or service you're offering, your marketing and sales plans, how you're going to operate, and your financial and accounting. And it's something that one can do themselves. You can take a class. There's books. There's tutorials. Or you can have an expert help you. It takes some discipline to do it. But once you strategize and plan it and you set milestones, it makes it so much easier to succeed because you know what you're trying to accomplish. And so often I find entrepreneurs get caught up in the day-to-day, the business starts doing well, or it starts struggling, and there's little time to step back and say, wait a second, what were we trying to accomplish? And when you lay out a plan for your marketing and your hiring and your finance with milestones and objectives, you can achieve it.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really critical.
One of the things important to me when I'm talking to someone who's going to start up a business is watching the cash burn, showing some respect for the people who are going to be investing the money. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's definitely not 1999 anymore.
Yeah.
When a company, you'd say, well, it's not going to make money. And the entrepreneur would say, that's okay, as long as we have revenue. Well, we're way past those days.
Right.
Now it's, you got to conserve cash, you've got to create revenue, and you have to show you can show profit. So when I work with companies, I like to do 3 financials. One is the entrepreneur's crazy best case scenario.
Yeah.
One is the likely scenario, And one is what the banker is will be afraid will happen. And let's lay out all three. Let's show how much money you go through and how long of a path you have. Because the burn rate is how much time you have to use up your cash and how much you need.
The runway.
Yeah, exactly. And so I like companies that have at least a year. I mean, a year is even short.
Yeah.
And again, now the companies that we're seeing get funded are companies where they're showing realistic numbers, not fantasies, but strong numbers, and how much cash they can use is a reasonable amount of money that they can fund.
You had said you also provide operational consulting services. What tips would you give to mature companies that find themselves, because of the current economy, in trouble?
Sure. Actually, I was giving a workshop today on this. And
Okay.
yeah, and one of the things that's critical is same thing. Look at your business as if you're starting it anew. So some businesses that are in this economy are stepping back and hiding. They're saying, we're just going to duck until this goes by.
Hunker down.
Yeah, hunker down.
Hunker down.
And I think it's like the worst thing to do, because if you hunker down, you're missing any opportunity, you're ignoring the market. I think that's the worst. The next worst is some clients or some companies that just slash and burn. Again, not the best, because as the recovery picks up, which it's beginning to do, they're going to miss opportunities. They won't be poised. So again, I think you want to step back and plan. So step back, hold an off-site retreat, figure out the different aspects to your business, what talent do you need to add, who can you not keep on board if they're not carrying their weight, what new marketing efforts can you do, have you looked at other unconventional ways to market, are there partners that you can develop, are there new sales channels, and really look at each piece of the business. And as we've done that with companies, you unearth new ways to make money, new ways to drive profit, and new ways to make your company successful.
One of the things that is, I think, a tough problem for an owner of a business with a great idea, they come in, they realize they have certain strengths, they have certain weaknesses, and now they realize it's time to get an outsider, but it's their baby, and they don't want somebody to tell them how to run their business, but when you're coming in with money, you have a say. Talk about the delicate balance there.
It's really critical. When someone is going to get venture funding from a venture capitalist, or even friends and family at times, they're going to want to have some input to the business. And you're right, traditionally entrepreneurs are very independent, strong-willed, risk-taking people. So it's key, if I work with a client, to explain the process to them. If they're going to give up 50% or more, they're going to lose a lot of, if not all, control.
Yeah.
So if they really have the ability to fund it up to a point where they're giving up minority stake, they may have a lot more control. But at some point, as you get additional capital and you get diluted, you're going to have less say in your business. And it's a balance. And I talk through to entrepreneurs, how much of the upside do you want versus go slower, burn less money, and have more control of your business. If it's a business that doesn't need to have some huge entree into the market and you can grow quickly but not blazingly fast, I often caution them to try to carefully get money. I've had other companies where they desperately need cash and they want to ramp up quickly and they're willing to take the gamble, and sometimes it works out great and sometimes they've lost some control, which, you're right, for entrepreneurs can be tough.
How do you establish that rapport early on where someone, they're not going to want to trust anybody.
Yep.
And now you're the guy that's there, and you have to make sure that there's trust between the two of you. And trust takes time. So,
It does.
And a lot of times it's a short fuse to make that business work. How does that work?
Well, I think it's really important, because as you work with people as a financial advisor, as a lawyer, as an accountant or a business consultant, it's all about the relationship between the two of you. So I try to establish my credentials from my Wharton degree, 25 years running a company, 2 certifications, and then I try to, though, show what I can do. So myself and my team will start out often on a small project, often starting with one aspect of the business, and it does happen over time. It helps if it's an introduction from a client or a friend.
Referrals are key.
Referrals,
Right.
yeah. Half our business is referrals.
Word of mouth.
Because then that barrier is broken down. It's not that they're just seeing an ad in a newspaper that they might not trust.
Right.
But even with the referral, they want you to prove it. So it
Sure.
still takes time, and that's why we believe in low entryway. Start out small, begin to develop the relationship, and we have references from all our clients, for that reason.
You also mentioned that you help companies with recruiting. In this day and age with the internet, all the job sites, Why go to a firm like yours for help with recruiting?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have other businesses that will say that. They'll start looking and they'll say, we'll just hire ourselves. Most of the businesses in our space, again, privately held companies, typically under 100 million in sales, they've done hiring one of three ways. Either the CEO does it, in which case they're not running the business and making sales. You know,
Yeah.
I guess you've experienced that too.
Yep.
This client, the technology company I mentioned before, he chose to have us do hiring, and he went and landed a contract with Yellow Book that helped him facilitate the sale of his company for millions of dollars. Or they come in and they put it on a bookkeeper or an office manager who isn't really prepared.
Right.
Or they go and they hire a traditional recruiter who might charge 35% and cost them $35,000 for a higher level search. Our model's different. Again, as part of gaining trust in the relationship, ours is traditionally by the hour for recruiting. And in all cases, we cost half, a third, tremendous discount from a traditional recruiter. And what we do, which they can't do just by going online, is from having run companies and consulted to 40 companies for the past 25 years, is learn their business, figure out what the role is they really need, write the descriptions, not just throw it up on Monster or Craigslist, come up with really creative places to post viral marketing, online, industry newsletters, job boards, screen candidates against metrics. We even do assessments of candidates on through in-person interviews and really getting them talent, because in this day and age, especially as the economy comes back, having human capital that's going to be making your difference for your team will be what drives companies to success.
You mentioned, excuse me.